For more on the Boao Forum, let's bring in our political and economic affairs commentator, Einar Tangen. Always good to have you on the broadcast. Einar, let's talk first about this year's theme. We are 2 years into this pandemic. What role is COVID playing in this year's conference?
Well, it's still very much a large concern. I mean, there has to be an economic aspect to coming out of COVID. So it's not over in terms of the actual pandemic, but all countries are looking forward to what is going to come. And Mike, this is a serious kind of shift that you're seeing here. You know, you have 600 delegates from 42 countries and 700 media, over 100 media outlets that are attending. This itself is a kind of signal to the world that it's starting to lighten up, that China feels that it can, despite recent events, control COVID and host these kind of very important international events.
Yeah, we heard from the Malaysian ambassador there, and he was talking about the global supply chain. I thought it was really interesting. He was talking about deglobalization, reglobalization. Where do you see that going? Because it seemed like globalization was on fire, and then you had all these countries kind of saying, no, we don't want to do all these trade deals. Where do you see that now?
Well, there's a huge shift. I mean, there was the unipolar world of the past. Now it's multilateral. And you've kind of gone away from this globalization with all these tariffs and these moves, especially things involving the war in Ukraine. There are walls going up. So what you're seeing is the birth of regionalization. And I shouldn't say birth, I mean, it's the ascendancy. Because these countries that are getting together, I mean, in Asia represents over one half of the total world output in terms of, factories and things like this. So what they're saying is the world, if it's not going to be completely globalized, we're going to regionalize. We're going to be more efficient and represent a huge trading bloc. And this has China's part of it, but China is not all of it. This is about how you can create regional trading cooperation blocs that are sustainable going into the future.
COVID's always the elephant in the room, but what are some of the other issues you think will be percolating up during the Boao Forum?
We all know that Ukraine issue and the economic effects that are affecting it. I mean, earlier you had a report about countries being in distress. What that means is that government revenues for 60% of the countries in the world, one half of government revenues are being used to support debt. That is unsustainable at a time when inflation is pushing food and energy. Now remember, this is not like the meltdown in 2008 and 9, where people lost their homes and their savings. This is about basics, what you need. You need food to exist, and you need energy to run an economy. If you don't have those, it's a serious, serious threat. And so at this time, I think they're going to see a lot about how this can go forward. They're talking about a green energy revolution, but it's going to have to be, address this issue of debt and how these countries can go forward under these very, very trying times.
Yeah, and President Xi's going to be attending virtually. What do you expect are some of the issues he's going to hit on in his address?
Well, I mean, President Xi he'll introduce sometimes one new element, but generally it's an emphasis. It's, Chinese policy is always an evolution. It draws very heavily on the current themes. You're going to hear about shared prosperity. You're definitely going to hear talk about how they can do it. You might hear some talk about what they're going to do about the current debt situation and how you can kind of push this green revolution, which is in many ways a furtherance of the Belt and Road Initiative. RCEP, as you heard earlier, very, very important. Countries really do have to pull together, especially in Asia, if they're going to be competitive worldwide, because the pressures that were put on China by especially the United States were based on its success. A larger trading bloc is going to be even more of a threat to some of those in the United States. And if they pursue that, these countries feel that they need probably to circle the wagons and make sure that they can continue. And if the U.S. doesn't want to play, or other countries don't want to play, that they will continue playing with each other and trying to make a better life for their people.
Einar, always a pleasure having you on. Always great to listen to your analysis. Thanks so much for joining us.